You're watching Betting Weekly Fight Life on the Bet Rivers Network.
Welcome to Betting Weekly Fight Life. I'm your host, Kyle Andrew, and joining me is Betting Weekly Studios resident fight expert, Mr. Paul Hughes. Paul, how are you this week? You must be super excited for this Fight Night card.
Yeah, super. I was really excited for the main event last week,
Mm-hmm.
Albazi Taira, but obviously things fell out. We've now got Taira versus Park, but there's a couple interesting fights in the card. But other than that, it's not the greatest card the UFC's ever put on. But we've got a big rest of summer going into the autumn time ahead of us, so just gotta get through these cards one at a time, and then
We do. It feels like work now, doesn't it? All right, well, before we get to Paul's best bets for this weekend's UFC Fight Night, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Betting Weekly Studios to get more Fight Life and get notified of all the great betting shows on Betting Weekly. I say, Paul, we hop absolutely right in it today, plow through this card. Let's see what we've got on the board for the first fight that we're going to discuss is the main event of the night, Tatsuro Taira versus Hyunsung Park. Of course, Park was a late substitution for a non-medically cleared for reasons unspecified, Amir Albatsi. What do you see in this fight?
Again, I think, as we said, Taira meant to fight Albazi, which is not. It's not in. I think it was. He was a lot of people when they were looking at this fight and looking at the Albazi fight, they were thinking Park has more danger, especially with how Albazi looked in his last fight, and I tend to agree with that. But Albazi was shorter than Park, which again I disagreed with. I thought Tyro was a better that price, even though he was pretty short already. But now Park comes in here. I think this is just a bit correct now if you look at the money line basis. Like Tyra, very very good wrestling grappling credentials on the ground. His transitions are really nice. He'll be on his back 1 second, then all of a sudden he's on top of you and you're in a submission. You're like, what has just happened? Like, he's a whiz at that type of stuff. Park, he's obviously got some good submissions himself. We don't know how well versed he's in the exact type of things Tyra is, but again, it would be safe to assume that he's not on the level of Tyra just because Tyra is that elite at that type of situation, which is why he's where he is in the rankings and why he had a razor close 5-rounder against Brandon Royval. And he was pitched to be like the next champion a few fights ago, and now he's here against Hyunsung Park, which it is a level down and it is a massive level up for Park. So it'll be interesting to see how Park gets on against this level.
Yeah, it's interesting because, again, this is a mismatch in experience to a great degree. Even though Park was scheduled to fight Steve Erceg next week, he's been moved up a week to fight Taira here. And, that's going to represent a bit of a problem in that you're training for one style and you're not training for this style. And Taira's dangerous. Like, he had a very, very close fight with a very, very good and very, very game Brendan Royval. So this represents a major hill climb for Park. He'll be game, but will he have anything to show Taira? I just don't think so.
I think Tyra's biggest weakness is honestly his head movement. Royval was kind of just throwing punches, and then Taira kind of just didn't move his head, which is pretty. It's not a really good thing that you want to have in your game where you just get hit by punches. Typically, you don't want to do that in MMA. In case anyone didn't know. But Hyunsung Park is dangerous on the feet as well. He has power. He can crack, and if he gets Taira up against the cage, he is gonna try and land bombs, which I think he might have a chance to do so. But outside nuking Taira early, I like in maybe like a club and sub situation, or like he just drops him and knocks him out. I don't know how much success he's really gonna have. I think Taira's just his level of grappling. He was kind of working it against Royval. He had like 1-2 clear rounds because of his grappling against Royval, and Royval is tricky and that he's long, he's hard to keep down and control, and Taira was trying to cut through him and find submissions. Again, Taira was razor close. That 5th round, he was on top at one point. If he managed to control Royval for another 30 seconds to a minute, not letting him get up, we probably would have seen Taira versus Pantoja by now. By now. So, you know what I mean? It's a game of fine margins, and Park stepping up here to fight Taira. I think he's just out of his. Maybe he's going to come and surprise us. I don't think he will, but I think this is just a level above where Park's at, and especially with how Taira is. Taira's very young as well. He's only going to get better. He's took a long time off since his last loss. I think he's going to come back ready, more prepared, and again ready to do what he does best. And it's control, find submissions. He can crack as well, which is it isn't talked about enough, but he can crack. The striking isn't great, but he does have power. So yeah, I think Taira is going to win this one, and I think he'll finish Park.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you. Park, if he's looking at anything, it would be early. He does like to start fast. He can strike, but he's unproven at this level, and he didn't train for this opponent. So, your assessment seems correct to me.
Very different styles, Taira and Usyk.
Exactly,
it can be polar opposites. Like,
and when you have as little experience as Park does at this level, it's not like you can even recall past camps where you fought someone more like Taira at this level. He hasn't. And so what is your official pick on the board for this fight, Paul?
Just simple, just Taira to win by finish. I think it's, again, he can crack, he does have power, and we don't know how Park's good. I do think it's going to be a sub. I mean, the odds suggest that as well. But we don't know how Park's going to go over 5. He's only been in a decision once in his pro career, and that was in his first ever pro fight. And say if he comes in here and he starts fading, we've seen these people where we don't know how they handle these deep waters, and what if Taira just hits him and he quits? That type of situation. Like, it is possible. So I think I'm happy to just take the plus 102. And again, Taira has hands, so he can just KO him on the feet, as we've shown before, or land some ground and pound. But I think it'll be a submission, but to play it safe, I'm just on him, Taira to win by finish, plus 102. He's going to finish him and get back in that title picture.
I think you're absolutely right. He's got 5 with this wager on the board. It'll also be the same pick I make officially on the night. He has 5 rounds to do it, and by any means he can. And I can just see a scenario where Park attempts to unload early and it costs him, and the lack of experience shows through. And Taira is not as inexperienced, and not even close to as inexperienced, and he should be able to handle this quite readily, I would suspect. So let's continue moving on. But before we do get to the next segment, the next fight, if you like what you hear on our shows, please sign up for our newsletter. Get exclusive tips in the free Insider magazine. Sign up for free at bettingweeklystudios.com. Paul, we are moving into fight number 2 against Matosh Rebeki versus Chris Duncan in lightweight. Yay. This is I think the fight will crack, but this is the co-main event of the night, and that's the name recognition here is not high. If you're a casual viewer, it's going to be tough to pull people in for this, but it's going to crack.
I mean, Rebeki's coming off a very fun fight against Oralby, which was, fight of the year. Like, it was unbelievable, and that's why you should real hard. Coming into the UFC, I was actually quite high on Rebeki. I thought I wasn't saying that he's going to go all the way, but you could see him being ranked and giving a lot of people issues. And Duncan's kind of someone, which I've been watching a lot of what other people have said this week, and just scrolling through, reading a lot of threads. A lot of people have the same opinion that Duncan just isn't great, but he just finds a way in every single fight, which at some point, you've just got to say, is that just his style? A lot of people were saying that about DDP before he went on to be the champ. Obviously, I don't think Duncan's championship material, but that's kind of people just oh, he's so goofy and does this, and then he randomly pulls a guillotine out of nowhere. But that's what Duncan does. He's slick. I've seen him. It looks like he can fade. We've seen him. He looks, when he gets further in the fight, and if it's a pace is being pushed, he does he can gas. But then even when he is gassing, he pulls out a win out of nowhere, and you're like, okay, so what? That just adds to the meme that is Chris Duncan at the minute. But I think he is good. This being a co-main event, obviously it isn't great. I think it would be a fun fight to open a card, an absolute war. But when I
a featured prelim type of fight, really.
Yeah, something to get the crowd hyped up before the main card kicks off. But when I think of this fight, I just want to take the under and look at it doesn't go the distance, but it's already so juiced, plus 130 for under a round and a half. I feel like this could be one that, by the end of round 2, they're both just dying because they've landed 100 strikes each and been such a pace, and one of them gets melted and then under 1.5 misses, but it still finishes in the second round and whatever else happens. But Rebeki, Duncan, again, he's I don't know. I really don't know what I think about this. Like, because at the same time, I'm thinking about Rebeki's probably going to find a finish if I was about to pick something. But then Duncan just pulls out of nowhere time and time again.
Well,
Like,
he's won his last 2
again,
fights by submission,
I thought
right?
he was
So
drawn thin against Vucenic. Like the first round against Vucenic was like, oh,
yeah.
Duncan's rolling here. And then the second round, it was like, oh, Vucenic is back. Like, this is the person that I thought Vucenic was going to be, and then all of a sudden he's tapping and
Yeah.
Duncan's winning again. I really don't know how I feel about this, and I think that's kind of where I'm going with the pick.
Well, yeah, exactly. I'm the same boat. I'm looking forward to watching the fight, but I'm just not able to make a decision on a wager on this. Did you find anything officially for this one?
No, I lean the under, but I think I just have to pass. Like, again, if the under 2.5 was a bit of a bigger price, like minus 130 or something, maybe that's where you go in the end, the under 2.5. But minus 160, no trust in that. So happy to watch this war unfold, but it's definitely going to be a war. If this comes out and it's boring, then
1,000%.
I don't know what's going on.
It's just one of the. It's just the line doesn't favor betting, but the visuals favor watching, and it could be like these guys do put on the type of fights you're talking about.
They can crack, man.
They can crack, and it's like, and this card needs it, right? This card like desperately needs a finish or like a slick sub off of a knockdown or something like. In this, let's move on. Let's just get right into the next fight, Paul. We have, of course, Elvis Brener and Esteban Ribovics. This could also prove to be fairly interesting.
Yeah, this one I'm quite confident on. I know it's already, let's say Esteban Ribovics is already minus 250, but I feel like Ribovics has Elvis pretty covered here.
Yeah.
When coming into the UFC, Brener was kind of, people were saying like, oh, his chin's so good, he's like unkillable type of thing. Like, and then the last 2 fights we've kind of seen him hurt bad to the body and finished by Joe Alvarez. Joe Alvarez is great, but his body, every time Joe Alvarez touched him, it looked like he was being hit with a nuke.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what. And then Oralby, he hurt him bad on the feet. He wobbled him. He hurt Brener. And obviously Oralby can do that, but he's not someone known for his hands. Like, he can grapple and he does like push a pace and whatever else, but he's not known to have that knockout power. And I think Brenner's chin's already in. I think his durability when it came to the UFC was kind of being overblown, but it is good for like the first round and a half. Like, he's able to take a bit because the way he fights, he's going to take damage. That's the thing. Have you noticed, like, he just always is coming forward and always pushing that. And when he does, he's going to get hit. So I think he's good for the first 5, 6, 7 minutes. And then when it goes into the end of the second, at the start of the third, it's like, oh, he's looking a bit wobbly out there.
Everything you just said is basically telling me exactly how this is going to go, and I agree completely. Yeah, he's good for the first 5, 6, 7 minutes, except Ribovics is a fast starter. You're guaranteed to take damage against him, and Brener he fights in a way that it's like it's made to take damage. Ribovics also has very good cardio and high output. This isn't a great match for Brener in that sense. Like, yeah, on any given Sunday, sure, or Saturday, but this is kind of teed up for Ribovics, isn't it?
It is, and the thing that, let's just take away there. Obviously, we spoke about Brenner's weaknesses and Ribovics being good, and obviously Ribovics on the feet, he's got way more tools. I think he's going to walk forward. Brenner's going to walk forward into Ribovics. Ribovics is going to land, and he's going to have loads of output. But Brener, he has got good wins against Kutaladze. He was taking a lot of damage, and then he won. Kutaladze was meant to be like the gatekeeper on the outside of that division, and people thought he was going to be great, and then he didn't end up being that great in the end. And Ribovics, when I was looking at his fight against Zellhuber, a split decision, like, is that, do you know what I mean? Like, that's not the best one. When I would say Brenner's more durable than Zellhuber, and he wasn't able to put him out there. Obviously, Hackpras, he landed some brutal shots at the end of the third on Hackpras, but Hackpras is a tank as well. He can then take those shots, but I think Brener will be able to take them for as long as he can. I think maybe like the third round could be something that, because Ribovics, he's going to go 100%, and at the end of the third round, he's still going to be able to go 100%.
That's exactly it, right? He has that level of tank. Maybe this is one for me too. I'm still kind of flip-flopping what I want to pick here too. I might look at output as a potential little side wager here or something like that on a fight like this, and obviously looking at Esteban in that sense. What were you able to pull for this one?
I think, as we mentioned, for about 5, 6, 7 minutes, his durability is good, and then as the fight goes on, he's going to fade. And I think that just plays into Ribovics, and I think Ribovics to win in over 1.5 rounds. So you're taking Brener to be able to survive the first, and then Ribovics to kind of do what he does. So yeah, Ribovics to win in over 1.5 rounds. I think that was minus 107.
Yeah, minus 107.
Yeah, I think that's a fair price. I think as well, Brener, as you said, he was historically durable, and we've seen people kind of come back to life in that department. He hasn't been finished in the first round, so he was finished in the third round by Alvarez, who I think he's obviously bigger than Ribovics, hits harder. So if he's able to go that long against Joel Alvarez, who's lands amazing bodywork and mixes up well, I think he'll be able to go at least into the second and cash this for us. But I think Ribovics' output's just going to win in the decision at the worst. So yeah, I like Ribovics over 1.5.
Yeah, that's a good price on something that does seem like the likely outcome for that fight. And before we get to our next fight, if you like the shows on Betting Weekly Studios, take a moment to follow up at our social handle at Because We Win on Instagram and, of course, on X. Neil Magny back on the card. Old man Magny back on the card against someone that I thought would maybe break the slot we use to put the names on this show. He did not do that. That, of course, is Elijah Zaleski dos Santos, a welterweight fight. Man, I don't know what to make of Neil Magny anymore, because he's lost his 2 of his last 3, and the one that he won was the one that Mike Malott absolutely gift wrapped and handed to him late in the fight. He was getting beaten from pillar to post the entire fight and pulled a rabbit out of his hat. Should not have won that fight. That was a huge mistake by Malott. What's going to happen in this one?
I've never been that big of a fan of Magny. I know a lot of people. He's up there. Obviously, he has a great amount of wins in the UFC. He has 22 wins in the promotion. So he's been here a long time. He's done great things. But as far as like from the last like 6, 7 years, he hasn't been. His wins are like Max Griffin by split decision. He was getting beat up by Daniel Rodriguez. Rodriguez makes a mistake and he wins by a bit like the Malott fight. His wins are just aren't great as of late. And it's not even as of late, as of like 5, 6 years, as we're saying, like pre-COVID times, he hasn't been. His wins haven't aged well. He has a 1 win over Jeff Neal, which is actually pretty good when you look back. But other than that, it's like every other performance is like him losing in some way or pulling a rabbit out of a hat. So, and it feels like, as he said, he's 22 wins in the UFC. He has 34 fights in the UFC. That is a lot of. Maybe that's just a lot of. What's it called? Like output and like his body. Like he's a lot probably older than fight years. Zaleski again, he's old as well, but I do like Zaleski. He was doing pretty well against Chidina Njokuani until he wasn't. But Njokuani has that power to like knock you out, which I don't think Magny at this stage of his career can just like deliver some sort of flash knockout. Yeah, the level of competition recently hasn't been great for Zaleski. I still remember his brutal win over BSD, where it was the worst ref I've ever seen, and he got pulled from the rest of the fights. And I don't think he's reffed a UFC fight since, but he was destroying BSD. But that was with someone who was smaller and wasn't as big as him. When he's fighting someone bigger and more longer and whatever else, Magny's going to have an advantage in. I don't know how he's going to fare at this stage. Again, it's more of just the pushing 40. They've had a long career. I think this is one where you just watch and just root for Unks to do something.
I'm fairly confident in this fight that Magny is going to get finished. I just think he's past that. We've been seeing him getting KO'd and knocked out. Malott should have finished him. He was so close. I just think he's done, to be honest with you. I might sit this one out, but if I go in, I'm going to take Dos Santos by finish for sure. I
You
just
know, I
can't
didn't
see.
mention. I think Dos Santos has huge leg kick upside,
That's
which
why.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah, which
He's
I
going
can
to
see
wound
that.
Magny. Magny's going to be limping, and that's just going to, he's already susceptible to KOs and TKOs. If he's on one leg, which I think we're going to see, I think by the end of the first round, you're going to hear the usual announcers. That left leg is, the whole thing. I think that's
If Joe
going to be the
Rogan was
game.
there, that's all you'd be saying.
Yeah, right.
That leg is cooked, man.
That leg is cooked, man. I think that's exactly the approach too. Take his balance out from underneath him, then finish him. And I think he's likely candidate to do that, but I might sit it out. I'm not saying if I want to officially say it finished, but I'm not 100% sure yet. Come fight time, I'm sure I'll text you, and that'll be exactly what I did, and probably regret it somehow. But did you find anything official for this one?
No, but I do like what you're saying. Like when you mentioned him one by finish, I was like, plus 185. I think that's a better number than I remember. So maybe then like a rewatch and seeing how that's going. I think maybe on the night, as you said, if it's something things are going well, chuck a bit of extra few dollars on there just for a bit of fun.
I've said this before, and I'm very, very big on assessing the fighters as they're walking out too, right? Like, what is their body language? What is their energy? Like, I'm going to be watching Neil Magny's face. Is he just walking to this ring for another paycheck? Like, what do we see here?
He may need to win to save his job.
That's
so maybe
exactly
he brings it as well. Yeah.
That's if he still can. He hasn't lately. If he still even can. So let's continue. Let's get into the last, and this is a very, very interesting fight we've got on the 6 card.
This is fight of the night.
This is the fight of the night. You got written all over it, and this is the opener. And this card very much needs a strong opener. We have Danny Silva versus Kevin Vallejos. Huge favorite Vallejos is, but that's for a reason, isn't it?
I think Vallejos is the goods. I think he's gonna.
I think so too.
I wouldn't be surprised in a few years. Like he's still so young. I don't think in a few years he's gonna be ranked at featherweight or be close to being up there for that belt.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's gonna touch the gold, but I think close enough. He's elite. He pushed Gene Silva to his closest fight, and he dominated round 1 against Gene Silva when he was 21 years old.
Yeah.
Like this is the level he is. Like he hadn't been through adversity at that stage. He didn't know how to like take some of the things that were thrown at him. So that's his only loss on his record to Gene Silva, who with a win next is going to fight for the belt and might be probably will be a favorite in that matchup if it's against Volkanovski, just with how his career's going. So yeah, Vallejos is a bad man. His striking's unreal. His pace, his pressure, him being able to mix it up. He's brilliant. He has power too. But enough of like Vallejos. I think Danny Silva, he actually is decent.
Yeah.
Like it feels like they're trying. Obviously, they want to build up Vallejos and stuff, and I think Danny Silva has the game to kind of test them all over. It's kind of something that you need at this stage of your career. Silva can like mix it up. Maybe he can mix up the grappling. I wouldn't be surprised to see him like take Vallejos down for a second or in a round, and you'd be like, oh, like Danny Silva doesn't normally do this, but I wouldn't be surprised again to see him have like 2-3 minutes of control, and then Vallejos is like, oh, I have to worry about this now. But I feel like when he's worrying about it, he'll be able. That's something that he's just a level above as well. I think it's going to be a bit of an I think the first round it might be a bit of figuring out like Danny Silva for a couple minutes, and then I think the onslaught's going to come. But I think Silva has got a pretty good chin, which I think the finish at -106 on Vallejos is pretty short. Yeah, I think Vallejos is going to win, and I think he's going to do it pretty comfortably as well. I think it's going to be like 29-28 at the worst, and a 30-27 or a late finish. I think he is, again, that top level. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think we talked about this at all beforehand, so I'm interested to see what you actually think about Vallejos or this fight in general.
Okay, so the way I'm looking at this, like from the UFC's point of view, is they're putting him in there with Danny Silva for multiple reasons here. they want to see what they have in him, right? Because this is not a layup fight by any stretch. Silva's style is going to present something to Vallejos that is going to expose what he is, what they have here. But it also seems like the level of competition here is high enough that they're attempting to fast track him through the division to a degree, right? Because if he can take out Silva in the ways you've described, it seems like he will be on the rise up through those rankings very quickly after this. He'll get better fights very quickly in very short order, but it all depends on his performance here. I mean, you just look at the guy. He looks like he's an AI-generated MMA fighter.
Yeah.
And while, there's talk about him being undersized, he handles it well. If he's going to get inside and land shots, he'll be fine.
I think it works for him.
I think it does too.
Yeah,
Exactly. I just don't think it's always something to harp on. And he is in the featherweight division, right? It's not like he's an undersized light heavyweight here or something like that.
And Volk isn't very big.
No, Volk isn't very big either. Exactly. So I am with you on this. I think this is a banger of an opener on this card. This is the fight that I would think would be most poised to get fight of the night here, and I'm big on Vallejos, and I think we're going to see this be the start of his true ascendance right through the division. I just think it's not a knock on Silva. This is a good matchup for him. We don't often see them test guys this early. Like, look how many layups they gave Bo Nickel, you know what I mean, on his way to his first loss. Vallejos is not waiting that long. This is not a layup fight. Danny Silva is a game opponent, and it's a good test for him to see where he actually stands.
He's very gritty. That's all I'll say about Danny Silva. He won his last 2 fights just off sheer grit.
Yes.
That's the type of fighter he is. So, Vallejos is going to stand and swing. Silva's going to take that, and he's going to come back with something as well, which is something you need at this stage of your career. So, I think Vallejos is going to go to the top, and that's my pick here as Vallejos to win in over 1.5 rounds. I think.
Okay.
I kind of speak to that. Silva has got every tool to test them. If he comes out and lands a first round KO here, I'd be ultra impressed. I'm already very high on him, but I think Silva does have the skills to test him for a bit, and maybe he breaks him down in the second and finishes in the third, or something like that. But I expect Silva to be. I mean, the over's -215 just to go over 1.5. It's kind of interesting. Danny Silva plus 340. I don't think he has the tools to win this, as I said, but I do think he has the tools to stay in the fight for as long as that is. So, again, Vallejos to win over 1.5. I think he's very skilled, going to go all the way to the top. I'm saying this, and if he loses now, I'm going to look very stupid. But, yeah, I think he's the goods.
Well, so am I, because so is pretty much everyone else out there. They're very high on Vallejos. I like this pick here because I do think Danny Silva can take the onslaught. And I think he'll be fine with it to whatever degree. He's got enough experience, and he's the right enough pairing. If there was a first round finish here too, I wouldn't necessarily be shocked. But same as you, I'd be just more impressed. And okay,
if Silva gets the first round finished, I'm being shocked.
Okay, yeah, sorry, yeah. if Silva wins this by finish in the first round, but hey, it's not a super likely outcome at featherweight, but it can happen. And there's still a bit of a referendum on Vallejos, but this is what this fight is actually for. It should be an absolute banger, and this has fight of the night written all over it. I hope it doesn't disappoint, because this card absolutely needs this to start off the night for certain. Paul, anything else to add? Big 6-card fight starting an hour earlier than pay-per-views, which is kind of nice because they have a lot of fights to get through. Any other notes here? I can't wait till Chicago.
Chicago should be a banger. We've got another event first before Chicago, though.
I know.
Unfortunately, but yeah, just to recap. So we have Taira to win by finish. We have Ribovics in over 1.5 rounds, and we have Vallejos to win in over 1.5. So 3 picks altogether. I think those are probably the 3 most interesting fights as well. If you're looking at the card, the Chris Duncan one could be fun, as you mentioned. There's a few different links we gave out there. But yeah, there's a few fun fights. Hopefully the card, it's not the ones you expect. Sometimes they deliver. So you never know. Maybe this is the card of the year, but unlikely.
Paul, I will share your optimism, and I will absolutely hope that is the case. It's unlikely, but I do think we're going to get a couple of pretty solid bangers on here, and I think those are the ones that we've made picks or leans on tonight. So once again, thank you for joining us on Betting Weekly Studios Fight Life. My name is Kyle Andrew. I was joined once again by the incredible Mr. Paul Hughes. See you next week, everyone.
Thanks for watching Betting Weekly Fight Life on the Bet Rivers Network.